So in my opinion, one of the biggest problems that Gen Z is facing these days is overstimulation. From my experience and from what I've observed from the people around me. And it is destroying our attention spans, our ability to focus. This is affecting not only our relationships, but our ability to study and work and everything. So about 2 weeks ago, I had re-downloaded Instagram. So I had Instagram deleted off my phone for the past couple months, but I re-downloaded it about 2 weeks ago. And since then, I have been addicted to Instagram Reels. Like I'm talking like 2, 3, 4 hours a day, just scrolling on Instagram Reels for the past 2 weeks. Now, over the past couple days, I kind of realized what was going on and I like seriously reduced how much I was using, but I was just hooked for like 2 weeks. And it was like crack cocaine because it was so addicting. Like the first time I did it, it was like crack cocaine. You're getting this new, super entertaining, super stimulating piece of content every 15 seconds. And this is not natural. For most of human history, we have not switched contexts so fast. With Reels, with TikTok, you're switching contexts every 15 seconds. And the problem with this is it's affecting your attention span. Let's say you're going to study for 30 minutes and you're reading your textbook. You need to focus on one topic for 30 minutes. But you've been training your brain to focus on one topic for 15 to 60 seconds by going on Instagram, by going on TikTok. So here's what I learned. Your attention span, it's like a muscle. The more you train it to focus for short periods of time, like Instagram Reels or TikTok, then the more it's going to try to focus like that when you're looking at longer form stuff. So if in watching this video, you've already checked the comments or you've already like scrolled around and gone onto a bunch of different tabs, if you can't even focus on a video that's longer than a couple of minutes, or you can't sit down and focus for extended periods of time, then your attention span is screwed. And for the majority of people around my age, their attention span is screwed. But they can't sit down and just be happy existing. They need to have their phone and they need to be stimulated. And I say this because this was me for most of my life, and it was me for the past 2 weeks. When I got addicted again to Instagram Reels for the past 2 weeks, I noticed I could not sit still anymore without having to do something. Like I would sit down on the couch and I'd like immediately pull out my phone and just like jump around to different apps just to get like some kind of stimulation, some kind of feeling. And I found the thought of just walking to the gym boring without doing something while walking. And like I couldn't sit in my room for more than a minute without having to do something. And this was all in the past 2 weeks. Before that, I could happily sit on my balcony and like watch the sunset, no problem. But now I'm just like, I can't sit down without having to do something. So I'm noticing the effects that even 2 weeks of watching Reels is doing to my attention span. I couldn't watch videos. Like I noticed when I was watching videos, I kept like jumping around, scrolling around, like just getting as much movement as I could on the screen as possible. And this was just the past 2 weeks. But in the past couple of days, I've, put in the work to fix this and to improve my attention span. So in this video, I'll explain to you how to refix your attention span. Because unfortunately for the majority of guys, their attention spans are screwed. Like most guys have like almost ADHD symptoms. Now, okay, maybe you do actually have ADHD. Maybe I have ADHD as well, I'm not 100% sure. But for the majority of guys, they don't actually have ADHD. Their attention span has just been screwed by modern technology, by, TikTok, and just so much switching of context, so much stimulation. Like think about old men. Sometimes you'll see old men like in the airport, in the park or whatever, and what are they doing? They're just staring into the distance. That's it. They're literally just like staring into the distance. They're not even watching something. They're not even doing something. They're just existing, and they're happy just existing. That's how humans are meant to be. That's how all creatures are meant to be. Like you think of a dog, they just walk and they sit down and they just exist. That's how we're meant to be. We're not meant to sit down for 1 minute and then get bored and like look for stimulation. We're meant to be able to just sit down and do nothing and exist. And for the past 2 years, I've tried to overcome this overstimulation addiction that I've had. And I've noticed that, I'm getting more periods of my life where I can actually sit there and just enjoy existing. Because life becomes so miserable if you can't even sit there and you need to be stimulated. You need to be doing something. Also, when you're trying to do work just feels boring. Exercising just feels boring when you have this desire, this addiction to be stimulated. So overcoming it is an amazing thing. So I'll explain to you now exactly how to improve your attention span and get it back so you can actually focus on long form things and not live such a miserable life where you always feel like you have to be doing stuff. So like I said earlier in the video, attention span is like a muscle. So how do you improve a muscle? You need to train it with stronger and stronger weights. So there's no way around it. You're not gonna like the answer. It's gonna sound boring, but you just have to get used to focusing on longer and longer things. That's it. It's that simple. and you need to focus and you need to do less of those short form things, those short-term focused things. Now, you don't have to do it all at once. You know, you don't have to quit Instagram and TikTok straight away and like start watching like long form, like reading entire books in one sitting. That's not what I'm saying. Like, you could if you wanted to, if you were super determined, but just like gradually reduce your short form and gradually increase your long form. This literally works for me every single time I fall into these periods of like destroying my attention span. Because another thing, since attention span is like a muscle, muscles atrophy, muscles get weaker. When you don't use your muscles, they get weaker. So when you go through periods of time where you're not focusing for extended periods of time, your attention span will get worse. Yeah, literally, try reading more, try watching more long form content, try working for longer periods of time without getting distracted. You know, turn off all your technology and just focus on one thing, on your work, on a book, on a podcast, on a workout. Just try to focus on it for as long as you can and get into the habit of doing that every single day. Or even have conversations with people. Focus on having conversations with people for extended periods of time. Because most people, when they have conversations with people, every like 5 minutes, they're like pulling out their phone. Or they're like listening to music in the background while they're talking to people. So basically, you just have to put in the intention to focus on one thing for an extended period of time. And another thing on this, it has to be something that's kind of difficult, a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Like when you lift weights, you have to lift weights that are a little bit hard. So for example, you can't improve your focus by like, for example, playing a video game that you love. Because when you play a video game that you love, you get pulled into it and it's easy, right? You can focus on it easily. It puts you in a flow state automatically. So you need to focus on things that don't automatically put you in a flow state. And you have to train your ability to focus on it for long periods of time. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to say like, pull out your book and you're going to start reading it. And you're going to notice you're going to get a bunch of thoughts. Your mind's getting pulled to all different directions. What you're doing is you're training your mind to go away from those thoughts and come back to the thing you're focusing on. So you're training your ability to come back, come back, come back. You're overcoming your mind's desire to get pulled everywhere. That's basically what you're doing when you're training your attention span. One more thing on this. One of the great things about having good attention span is you enter what's called a flow state. They did a bunch of research, and we are happiest when we're in a flow state. A flow state is when we have no thoughts in our mind and we are just 100% focused on what we're doing. So let's say you read for an hour and you're so absorbed and you can focus for an hour. Then you're in a flow state for an hour. Therefore, you are at your happiest. So improving your attention span will literally make you happier because you will enter more flow states. You will not feel as miserable when you just sit there and when you try to focus on stuff. And yeah, just in general, it'll improve your quality of life. So hope this helps.